Welcome back to Radio Salado, here in the heart of Central Texas at the gorgeous historic Stagecoach Inn along these magical creek banks at Salado Creek. We are lucky enough to have with us all the way from San Antonio, Texas today, celebrated artist Brandon Massey. Are you based in San Antonio? Is that correct?
That's correct. I live in King William.
All right. Well, we're so happy to have you here. Brandon, his life took an unexpected turn after a train accident in 2013, one that forever changed the direction of his journey. Yet, instead of allowing hardship to define him, Brandon found new purpose through art. His work celebrates the spirit of the American West, capturing the beauty, the ranches, the horses, the people, and the enduring hope and tenacity that rides with every Texas sunrise. Brandon, welcome to Radio Salado.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming as we embark on this inaugural launch for this project. Tell us a little bit about your just journey as an artist and as a Texas artist, if you wouldn't mind kind of starting there for us.
In the beginning, I think I was always an artist that was born on a ranch. So first, in order to be an artist, I had to learn to weld, fence line, and pull, and do all the things you have to do on a ranch, and really just use the engineering side of my brain. After that, I went into the railroad, and I always painted my entire life. That was how they kept me in check. And that was kind of anchored me to it. And then spending time in rodeos and that live action and just understanding the simplicity of life, of growing food, producing cattle, feeding people without all the complexity of everything in the world. And so I fell in love with just simple life. And I grew up in Amarillo, which was very busy, but my grandparents had me out a lot, different environments.
And so then what led you, I know you've told me a bit, but for our listeners at home, what led you then to sort of set up your Western Art HQ in San Antonio? I can only imagine.
I went to Wimberley really after my accident in 2014. I went through numerous amounts of changes in my life, different things, different opportunities, different stuff, and my marriage dissolved due to the accident. And so I was crushed for a while. I got into deep therapy, really helpful things. And then I was allowed to my ex-wife set me free, if you will. She said, you need to go do things that I can't do with you and be with you. And I want you to go and thrive. And so I took the opportunity. It took a while. I thought I had a broken heart for a long time. But when I moved to Wimberley, I went there exclusively to really find myself and be honest and show a really love for a community and start giving service to people without
Did you have
expectation.
friends there? Or was
I knew absolutely one person.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But the place, the heart of Wimberley is what drew you there, you think?
I stuck my feet in the water and I just felt compelled. I saw things clear. I felt safe and I felt at home. And I could finally be where I could grow into who I am today.
I sure do love Wimberley. I lived there for a time when I was in grad school, and I too have a strong affinity for it. And I take my kids there as often as I can. I feel that way about Salado Springs for sure, and maybe the only other place I can think of that's even close to that for me, aside from Wimberley and Salado Creek and Salado Springs, is the Frio River. Have you spent much time there?
Yes, and actually, you know what? It was funny. I had a relevance today when I drove into town, and I came down. I felt, oh my gosh, I'm back in Wimberley. You know, I didn't have the full feeling of going down the hill
into the valley,
and everything, and so really to get a feel for it, I did go and I went and found your creek and stuck my feet in there, and it was a lovely feeling of just. I actually sketched a bunch of moms sitting by the river and their kids were playing and laughing and having fun. The dads were skipping rocks, and it was absolutely captivating. And it also had this line of trucks and semis going by, and it reminded
Chisholm
me.
Trail, modern day.
Well, it reminds me that there's so many of these beautiful hidden gems just in reach of you, and we always just continuously tell ourselves, "I'm going to stop by there. I'm going to try it out," and I'm so happy y'all brought me here to try to.
Well, we want you here more often. And in fact, one of the reasons I brought you here today, other than just to get to know you better, I found your art online. It came to me through the algorithm, through the ether. I think just my love of Western art, somehow the algorithm knew I needed to see your work. And I just, it caused me to take a pause and really take a moment to immerse in your work as much as I could via Instagram. And so I was so honored when you said yes, that you would come and join us today. But another reason that I invited you today was because I wanted to ask you if you might, now that I'm learning, you love Wimberley, Creek waters, and you love Salado Creek waters and the Frio, and just sort of that overall energy that can only be found in a few places that we can name. If we are having we've just let me give you a little bit of a history here. In February, Salado found itself learning that our creek is under threat, great threat. And so an organization of 6 women, I'm one of them, founded a group called Save Salado Creek. And we're so lucky for so many reasons, amazing 6 women, all with different skill sets and backgrounds. I'm the baby of the group. They like to remind me of that often. Just Carolyn Britt, Joyce Pennington, Linda Griffith, Jody Askins, and Kathy Sands and I founded it. And to those Saladoans who hear those names, most of them will probably ring a bell for you. We're not the kind that sit on our laurels, so to speak. We're all go-getters kind of women, but we've come together, and we're our inaugural fundraiser for that endeavor is a big concert for the Creek event happening October 1st, and Michael Martin Murphy is headlining it. And there will be an art auction, and I would love to have you as one of our special guests.
Absolutely.
And with your love of Western heritage and your love of these creek waters, it only makes sense to have you there with us.
I would absolutely love to. Yeah, 100%. I'll donate a painting.
We would. That's so gracious of you. Thank you. And for those who are listening at home, you can find out more information about that event and Save Salado Creek at savesaladocreek.org. Our brilliant Mike behind the scenes, Mike Hamilton, will make sure that you have that info as well. So back to you specifically. You and I could talk about, obviously, Western art in the creek all day long, and we probably should have our feet in the creek right now, actually.
Absolutely.
Next interview.
I would probably be complaining about them taking my water. That's a big complaint.
Yeah, I know, I hear you. So I've got a couple of questions that I've mapped out here, just because you've had such a prolific life and filled with so many, for lack of a better description, wild Texas tales. I wanted to kind of break it down a little bit, and feel free to expand upon any of this. When you've endured such a traumatic events in your life, one specifically, the train incident. This show is taking on a life of its own, and one of the themes is certainly tales of resilient Texans. And so with that in mind, when you look back at your life before and after the train accident, what do you believe that season ultimately taught you about your purpose and about purpose in general?
Absolutely. That as beings, you have to have purpose. Purpose is our reason for existence. And purpose is what drives me every day. I don't have purpose for making money. I don't have purpose for anything other than creating constantly. That's my only purpose. Knowing that is such a great feeling. And I really wish everyone would find their exact purpose. But I think the understanding of generating enough purpose in your life until you find your purpose is the journey itself. And so many people give up and just don't want to do that anymore. So it is heart-wrenching to me. I found purpose by not being able to do it. I found purpose by broken bones and laying in beds, and finding meditation in ways that you have to separate yourself, transcending your brain into different places. So as soon as I could get up and move again, it was my purpose to live and to experience everything and to create every single day. And it was clear to me, and that's what I started doing. It's been a long journey, but the past couple of years, I've made a new dedication to that purpose, and I drive in a different direction now. So.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that direction?
I allowed art to come to a close second to my kids. In my life, I allow myself the time, the energy to fully give everything to it. Working 24 hours a day, sleeping in small patterns. I'm never tired. I'm never exhausted. I just feel good all the time. It's always in front of me and available to me, and I get to paint anytime I want to. My kids support me. My close friends are actually just my stability. Everything like it's just fallen into place in this time of my life, where I've made it and put it in my place in this time of my life to get to have this opportunity, and I'm going to take advantage of every bit of it.
So much of what you're saying is resonating with me on a personal and professional level. What would you say around the idea of honoring your calling to those who may not understand what that means? It sounds like that's exactly what you're doing. You have these sort of spiritual callings to create this art, and how that then weaves a community around you, etc. Purpose and calling being very much intertwined, very much one and the same, probably in many regards.
I find comfort in my subconscious. I live primarily in harmony and resonance with my subconscious. I think a lot of us as humans, we fight against that natural gut instinct, that subconscious guttural feelings that guide you and direct you in life. When I'm at peace with it and harmony, then I can create on a different level and do things in a way that I used to couldn't do it. And so now I spend as much time with that as possible. And by doing tasks for others and giving yourself and understanding the walkway, all religions are really the same at the basic notion of them, is that they all say to live by a guideline to where you're just good and do good things, and the best parts come back to you. So that's kind of the way I live my life constantly, and I'm absolutely blessed to have people in my life that support me.
As you're talking, I'm sitting here trying to imagine you in your studio and taking those bits of respite and then getting right back up to it, never running out of energy, because you're really living in that creative flow that so many seek. Where is your studio in San Antonio? Can you tell folks, how do we find you? I mean, do you allow people to come and visit you there, or is it a very private sort of space for you, or both?
I have a wonderful little studio. I've lived several lives in my life, but now I'm humbly living in just a very small space now with my wolf. I have a 160-pound wolf, and
boy
I have
or girl?
Boy.
What is his name?
Sachi. And then I have my Lulu, who is a German short-haired pointer, and we live in a tiny little space, but I have 20-foot ceilings and I can paint large. And so I'll have 7 or 8 paintings going at all times in different directions. And I do invite people to come over anytime. It's at the Blue Star Art District. I'm in 112B around back. I usually paint out on my patio.
Where is that in relation to, say, like the Pearl, or folks, that don't know San Antonio very well, maybe like the Alamo Heights area?
I'm in Southtown.
Okay.
I'm on the San Antonio River, just the other side of the Alamo. So the Riverwalk goes right past my place. So,
oh, how cool.
Yeah, I can just stroll down the street. So I'm in King William District. So,
understood.
Yeah.
So you've got Lulu and Sachi.
Yeah.
And your 20-foot ceilings. And how long have you been creating in that space, or just in the San Antonio area in general? I've
been over there in San Antonio for about 6 months, and I've shown in San Antonio for about 2 years. And I've worked underneath one of my best friends who's become like a brother to me, Bryson Brooks, who's another very large artist in the Western scene. And we've worked together now for almost 2 years, and we've taken on journeys working in New York together and end up in Florida by every which way. He's going to my daughter's wedding with me in Edinburgh. My girlfriend's going with me. It's going to be a great affair. But yeah, it's, working with them and that constant connection brought me to San Antonio, because he was from San Antonio and we work consistently together a lot in my community.
I'd love to see his work as well. I'm not quite familiar, but I don't spend as much time in San Antonio as I used to. My daughter's in college in Austin now, so I'm not going to San Antonio quite as much. But I feel like your art is really just growing, exploding, and have you felt it just really growing in the last 18 months, 24 months?
Yeah, in the past 2 years, especially since I've made the dedication, the complete dedication to my art. That's quitting drinking. I gave up all alcohol. I have very other little interests in my life other than my close community, close bubble of friends, and painting, and the support of my galleries and the people around me. And so once I've made that focus, I've kind of turned a direction on everything else.
Mm-hmm. Once you made that commitment.
Yeah, so I don't really look a lot of it as growth or anything. I don't really know how to quantify success. I just create for my legacy for the most part. I don't really worry or concern myself with the price of a painting or where it's going. Once I paint it, I release it and it's gone. But so I think it is. I mean, I got into the Chicago Art Fair this year. I've got a residency in Mexico City. So lots of art shows are popping up. I'm hoping to get into a show in Trinidad, Colorado, and study old Western photographs and do paintings of those. So there's several shows and coming up that I'm getting heavily involved in that are all materialized recently. So.
Well, your work is certainly jaw-dropping. I've been around the Western art scene my whole life, growing up in Kerr County, and you just have I don't know how I would describe. I need to study your work more, but I think for now I'll just say that it's very moving, and you can feel when I sit and look at your work. Now I've been looking at it digitally. Now, luckily, I've got a piece, one of his originals that he's just created today. I'll share with y'all in a moment. But I would say, if I had to describe it in terms of how it affects me, how it resonates with me, I just feel such genuine intention in your work in terms of just hoping that it creates more for the greater good, that it's nourishing to the soul.
The idea behind all of my work, I think, is that we live in a world where everyone's has their own idea of everything that they see, and it's created or in a certain way because it's in their way or it's a solution for them. I really just want people to see the same painting together at the same time and have one common thought, and just realize that we all kind of think the same, and we have different directions and viewpoints and things, but we all think the same, we see the same, and we can have the same thought about something, and just to have that continuity.
Yeah, that coming together. It reminds me of a phrase that actually we're using as our, we voted on, and it has now become our motto for Save Salado Creek. And so it's Save Salado Creek, but then underneath it at the bottom of our logo, it reads, "Building Bridges Together since 1868. And when you're describing that here now, your intention, I feel that wanting to build together, wanting to come together to see the commonality in our humanity. Does that resonate? Yeah?
Absolutely. That's
cool.
Exactly right.
I love it. Okay, I've got another question here for you. Your artwork captures the soul of the West, from your own perspective. What is it about cowboy culture and Texas heritage that continues to call you back to the canvas?
The cowboy culture in general is kind of an oxymoron in itself. I love the fact that on a ranch, there's no pecking order, really. Everybody just works together. It's a harmonious balance of chaos. And so growing up and understanding that there is chaos and order, and watching it all come together, and knowing that these people they don't have the opportunities a lot of people do. A lot of people don't get off the ranch and see things. And that's why my friends and I'm part of what's called the Coors Cowboy Club in Amarillo, Texas, where we have a massive rodeo every year for 70,000 people.
Oh, wow.
And we raise money, and so that we can help kids on ranches that don't have the opportunity to go to college and stuff. And so understanding and coming from that and not having all the opportunities to thrive, I want that culture to be exposed and see how amazing that culture is and how strong they are, and tight-knit and really open, great culture of rodeo and cowboy.
I really want to learn more about that, truly, and I hope that you share that link with us or any information more around that rodeo so that our listeners can learn more, and that I can as well. When is the rodeo held?
First weekend in June every year.
Okay, so you just had it.
Yeah, just had it.
And so what was it like this year?
I didn't actually get to go this year.
What did you hear about it?
Yeah, it was absolutely. I got all the pictures because I've painted quite a few of the event already. I've been kind of working on some things, but it went really well. It's actually a working ranch rodeo, so we get all of the events are just about working in the ranch. So not riding bulls or any ridiculousness. We're actually just breaking horses, sorting cattle, like what you're supposed to do on a ranch.
Yeah, the traditional workings of that endeavor. Okay, so I've got a couple more questions here for you, and then I'd love to talk more about your work. These are 2 questions that I wrap up every show with, and I say wrap up, but we're just kind of moving in that direction. What in this day and age, and growing up, I'm sure it meant one thing, and in all the brilliant chapters of your life, it may have evolved. When you hear the phrase "true blue Texan," what does that mean to you?
It's kind of funny. I'm 8th generation Texan, so
8th generation.
Yeah, we've been here a really long time.
And I've been here a minute.
Yeah. And I guess when I go back to thinking about my grandparents and true blue, real Texans, we're really just the kindest people in the world, but don't take advantage of our kindness because then it gets pretty cold, And so, I mean, just judging from my grandmother, the way she carried herself and all the strong women in my life, my grandmother, my great grandmother, great aunts, there's a certain tough tenacity to Texans. And we will absolutely go 100% for pretty much anybody in the world, as long as it's not taken advantage of. And I think that advantage point is what's getting infringed upon in today's time. And it's so lovely to see this town without a lot of that vantage point, still not growing in that productive or consumer attitude. It's a beautiful.
We're doing what we can to preserve the magic here. That's for sure. And it's an everyday endeavor. So thank you for seeing that and acknowledging it. I read something the other day, and it really resonated with me. I thought, did I write that? But I didn't. So I can't say I did, of course. But it was something along the lines of it was a little girl's voice, and it was a voiceover on some imagery that I was taking in. And essentially, she said, when I was really little, I thought I had to choose between being brave and being beautiful. And then I put my first pair of cowgirl boots on, and I realized I didn't have to choose.
That's right. and that's Texas.
That's Texas. That's Texas. So now that you shared with me, your love of Texas rivers and Texas waters and Texas spring-fed creeks like Salado Creek and the waters in Wimberley, and can you share with me, and our listeners, just some memories, or maybe even your favorite memory? And I know you talked about Wimberley and putting your feet in the creeks in Wimberley. Aside from that one, what are some moments in Texas waters and rivers that you can recall really just resonating with you to your soul, to your Texas bones?
Well, I'm a Pisces, so I have.
You love that water.
I have to have my water. So growing up in West Texas, that was problematic because it was usually like a horse trough or whatever homemade swimming pool we could fabricate. But those are probably my best memories too of being in the water. But really, when I was a kid and when we graduated high school, me and 3 friends, drank too much and jumped in the 280Z and drove to New Braunfels.
Oh wow!
And I ended up turn number 7 at Schlitterbahn, slinging people, and I had just that summer of the freedom of when everybody went home on a Tuesday, when you just float down the canal and it's just you and your few friends, and the water seems to slow, and the vines kind of wake you up when they hit your toe. It's just a beautiful scene down there. I've always loved floating in that area. That's been my favorite. I still go back to it constantly. Even living in Wimberley, I would go over to Boston.
I'm curious on a personal level. You have such a way with words and painting pictures with words as well. Have you ever written anything? Poetry or
not
songs?
Poetry. I have a lot of friends I hang out with that utilize my lyrics occasionally, but no, I haven't written a lot of songs, but I have. I just recently have written about 3 books in the past year that I'm working on finishing up at this time. One of them is a children's book that I'm doing all the paintings for individually.
Can you share more? You're going to share more with us next time.
Really, it's just a storyline I came up with. I was walking down the river and the wind was blowing through the trees and it was beautiful, and I was envisioning what it was like being in there 250 years ago, if you will. And I came up with the idea of King William because I live in King William. He was so happy and had such a beautiful community where people created their own food and shared their art and sold it. And then all these buildings took away all the wind, and there's smog and all these things, and he just absorbed into the river. But every time it rains, he comes back, and he reminds you that if you find art again, we'll be beautiful again and make everything right. And so that's kind of the synopsis of the story. And then I built this around him.
Do you have an expected sort of hope to release it in the next year, or
probably in the next year?
We're keeping our ears to the grindstone, trying to see that coming down the river.
I'm hand painting each one of them, each panel, and I'm sitting on the river down there doing it. So I want them to be represented by San Antonio in the King William district. I really care. I love that district. It's such a beautiful people that have surrounded me with such kindness that I would like to give something back to that.
I can't wait to see it, personally and professionally. I'm a big fan of children's books, those who know me well.
Yeah, I saw that. That's beautiful.
Big fan of children's books. Well, I can't tell you how much it means to have you here. And you drove all the way from San Antonio today in the Texas heat on I-35, no less. How can folks find you these days? What's the best way?
Actually, my Instagram is probably the best way to contact me, and it's Massapix. That's Massapix. That's a great way to contact me, or come by the Blue Star Art Complex, Unit 112B. I'm around in the back in the alley. Big porch.
I'm gonna come. It'll be cooler temperatures, but I'll be there at some point. Hopefully, in the fall or maybe close to the holidays. I'd love to come. I have a brand new baby nephew who lives not that far from there, so I have to come see him, Mr. Jack. Blonde-haired and blue-eyed, bundle of trouble. So precious. He'll be 2 in September, actually. Well, thank you so much. And folks, just before we began the show today, our brilliant new friend, Brandon, bestowed one of his originals to the show here. And I don't know how well you can see it. I'm going to hold it a little closer to the camera, but we'll get a better shot of it later, I'm sure. Can you tell us a little bit about this image that you created while you were here in Salado today?
Well, regretfully, I accidentally walked in while you were doing a radio interview. And I said, wow, this is really neat. It's so grassroots, and I love grassroots, and I love the creation behind it. Everything in my life is a painting. I love to see all the messy parts and then watch it all come back together into vision. And so I was thinking of you on this journey, and so you're kind of riding a bull right now, and you're busting through the fence, and you're past the stop signs, and this is your journey into your new radio station here. So
I'm loving the Janis Joplin eyewear. I need a pair of those, it looks like.
Well, you're going to need glasses where you're going.
Well, you obviously know where to get the coolest ones.
Oh.
They look great on you. Well, thank you so much for being here today, and we'll make sure we get all your contact information so listeners at home can find your work as well, like I was so lucky to do. And we can't wait to see you again, and definitely October 1st for the Michael Martin Murphey concert. We'll have you back as a guest then as well. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for tuning in to Radio Salado TX. We're just so lucky every single day, from the saddle to the stars at the historic Stagecoach. We'll see y'all next time. Happy trails.